Okay, welcome to Adept Packaging's June Learning Share. Today's topic is identifying sources of packaging damage in your supply chain. For today's presentation, all of our attendees' lines are on mute. If you would like to ask a question, you can type your question into the Q&A section, which you'll find at the bottom of the Zoom window. Our presenter will pause for questions a few times during today's presentation, and we'll also take some time to answer questions at the end. You'll also see we have a poll up for today's presentation. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we appreciate all of your responses. Dave Close, Principal Packaging Engineer for Adept Packaging, will lead today's presentation. Dave will share a case study for a project using trackers to identifying sources of damage to reusable pallets, but the same technology and the same principles apply to really any packages that you'll be shipping that can be tracked. At this time, I'll turn this over to Dave to get us started. Take it away, Dave.
Thank you, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time zone that you're in. And happy Monday. So our presentation today, identifying causes of packaging damage in your supply chain. This is a very subjective situation because, how do you actually identify packaging damage without actually riding along in the trailer or the aircraft or whatever conveyance that your product is being transported in, or actually putting a camera on your product? And so there's a whole level of difficulty that's involved, as everyone certainly is aware. So this is an interesting case study about a project that I'm involved in, and what we discovered as we have gone through the different phases of this project, and the project has evolved. So I'll get started. So packaging damage, some interesting statistics. The Packaging Digest estimates that up to 11% of unit loads arriving at warehouses show some signs of case damage. The average rate of damage, according to this particular article, is 2% overall. And so what does that translate into? Manufacturers spend more than $150 billion a year on product packaging. So if they experienced a damage rate of, let's say, 2%, that's about $3 million. That is a typo. I apologize for that. But anyway, a very big number. So 8.4 billion in e-commerce damage. According to a report published in Forbes in April of 2021, the global e-commerce market will hit 4.2 trillion in 2021, with US consumers accounting for close to 25% of that spending, which means there could be nearly 8.4 billion in global packaging related damages. So anyway, a huge number. So what are the different costs of packaging damage? You have monetary, you have product, and brand reputation. In monetary, you would have repair and warranty costs. You would have shipping cost, which is involved with reshipping previously completed orders. You have schedule disruptions due to makeup order drop-ins and MRP shortages. For product costs, you would have changing SKU numbers or meeting GS1 requirements. And in brand reputation, you'd have lost market share. People they would see a low rating for your product and they would go to someone else's product. So all of you that use Amazon. So why is this important? Identifying damage is, you can't fix it until you identify where it's occurring at. So knowing where the damage is occurring is a critical element to identify the root cause and help you redesign packaging to withstand that damage, whether it's at the supplier, the warehouse, sortation centers, local distribution, or at the delivery phase, last mile. So brings us to GPS trackers. Now everybody is aware, I think, unless you live completely in a bubble, that GPS trackers are out there. But the question is, how effective are they? So the GPS trackers that we chose for this project enable us to identify where and when the damage is happening, whether it's in transportation, what mode, or carrier selection. For example, if you're getting damage, you may need to change your carrier they have air ride trailers or special equipment deployed with the conveyance to minimize product movement during the transportation cycle. Now that's one element. But what GPS trackers give you is the ability to capture real world data to support critical supply chain decisions. In today's supply chain, it's critical that logistics professionals can actively manage. Yes, these decks will be shared after the presentation. So it's critical that logistics professionals can actively manage their in-transit shipments and eliminate preventable delays and damage. This is achieved by being able to see and rely on hyper-accurate location and condition insights. And this is not the first time. I mean, companies have been doing this for years. GM had a big study back in the 80s, and they put the level of technology in tracking devices was significantly less than they are now, but they put tracking devices in rail cars to identify temperature and impact for shipments being sent out of the Midwest to the Southwest and across the border into Mexico. And these studies were very revealing when they found that their product suffered up to 8G impact strikes when the railroads were doing switching in the rail yards. And they also found that the temperature in the rail cars exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So they had to make some packaging choices based upon that information that they gleaned from those studies.